Okay. And what do we have here? This is something that we haven't seen before in this capacity. Looks as if somebody is drawing some kind of power.
Wolf Queen, hear our call and awaken. We summon Fatima. We summon Fatima. Long have you slept the dreamless sleep of death, Fatima. No longer. Hear us, Wolf Queen. We summon. We summon Fatima.
Okay, so looks as if they're trying to summon Fatima.
Is someone there?
Fatima being the Wolf Queen, of course. The Wolf Queen of Solitude, to be more precise. And she's one of the 3 children born to Pelagius II and Quintilla. But there is some books in game entitled The Wolf Queen and Biography of the Wolf Queen, which we shall read to find out a bit more about her. Oh, there we go. Damn your life ward, boy! Uh-oh. I'm in a precarious position here. I might need a summon of my own. Okay, we're done. Thankfully. Alright. So by the looks of it then, the goal of this is to no doubt reach the top of this tower where the energy is being channeled and end the ritual, I assume. Of course I know what happens, I've played it before, yesterday of course, but yeah, that is what I was thinking at the time. It's a fairly, let's say, tricky-ish situation with all the twisting steps and paths and whatnot, but ultimately, just keep going up.
Yes! Yes! Return me to this realm!
Got a tough one here.
What are you doing? You fool! You cannot bind me to this. You ants don't have the power to bind me.
And there we go. Drog Deathlord dispatched. Yeah. So we continue to work our way higher and higher. All in all, keeping our mind on the goal. Oh! Surprise! Oh! Desperate to use my paralyze. There we go. He collapses like a... you know what. That didn't really work out too well. Come on, lovey, walk through the fire. What's wrong with you? If you put your mind to it, people can walk over hot coals. What's walking through a wall of fire? It's no different, surely. Okay, I've had enough of this silly cow. Time to teach her a lesson.
Something is wrong. There is an intruder.
I think our presence has been noted. Took them long enough to realise. Oh. Step back, Marina. I have plans for this one. Off with you. Bring forth my fluffy little friend. He'll have some fun with these cloth-wearing maniacs. There we go. He is mopping up.
The challenger is near.
He smells blood. Stop the intruder? And how do you plan to do that, lovey? Not quite as simple as it sounds. Woohoo! Off she flies! Come on, Fluffy, do your stuff. Oh, disappeared. She's trying to punch me. Is she crazy? You senile old bat. Where's the other one? Oh! The energy is going. It's been released. Go! Whoa! Oh! Phew! Job done. It was so stressful that I had a swig of ale to recover from the shock. Okay, so we're pretty much done here, and our next goal is to reach Solitude. And well, first order of the day will be to rest up and take a day off. We've been obviously questing throughout the night here. We pulled an all-dayer. So once we get back to the inn, the Winking Skeever, we shall be resting up for the majority of the day, and then we'll be taking a day off before we head back into the throng. So the rest of this session is basically me meandering my way back to Solitude. So whilst we have a little bit of downtime, considering we're addressing Fatima here, the Wolf Queen, I think we'll take the opportunity to read Biography of the Wolf Queen by Qatar Erifanes, a history of the unambiguously evil Queen Fatima, the so-called Wolf Queen of Solitude.
I'm right behind
Just so we've got a bit more history about her.
I'm a mage, not a pawnbroker, you know.
Few historic figures are viewed as unambiguously evil, but Fatima, the so-called Wolf Queen of Solitude, surely qualifies for that dishonour. Born to the imperial family in the 67th year of the Third Era, Fatima was immediately presented to her grandfather, the Emperor Uriel Septim II, a famously kind-hearted man who viewed the solemn, intense babe and whispered, "She looks like a she-wolf about ready to pounce." Fatima's childhood in the imperial city was certainly difficult from the start. Her father, Prince Pelagius Septim, and her mother, Quizara, showed little affection for their brood. Her eldest brother, Antiochus, 16 at Fatima's birth, was already a drunkard and womanizer, infamous in the empire. Her younger brothers, Sepphoris and Magnus, were born much later, so for years she was the only child in the imperial court. By the age of 14, Fatima was a famous beauty with many suitors, but she was married to cement relations with King Mantiaco and the Nordic kingdom of Solitude. She entered the court, it was said, as a pawn, but she quickly became a queen. The elderly King Mantiaco loved her and allowed her all the power she wished, which was total. When Uriel Septim II died the following year, her father was made emperor, and he faced a greatly depleted treasury, thanks to his father's poor management. Pelagius II dismissed the elder council, forcing them to buy back their positions. In the Third Era 97, after many miscarriages, the Queen of Solitude gave birth to a son, who she named Uriel, after her grandfather. Mantiaco quickly made Uriel his heir, but the Queen had much larger ambitions for her child. 2 years later, Pelagius II died, many say poisoned by a vengeful former council member, and his son, Fatima's brother Antiochus, took the throne. At age 48, it could be said that Antiochus' wild seeds had yet to be sown, and the history books are nearly pornographic in their depictions of life at the imperial court during the years of his reign. Fatima, whose passion was for power, not fornication, was scandalized every time she visited the imperial city. Mantiaco, King of Solitude, died the springtide after Pelagius II. Uriel ascended to the throne, ruling jointly with his mother. Doubtless, Uriel had the right and would have preferred to rule alone, but Fatima convinced him that his position was only temporary. He would have the empire, not merely the kingdom. In Castle Solitude, she entertained dozens of diplomats from other kingdoms of Skyrim. Sowing seeds of discontent, her guest list over the years expanded to include kings and queens of High Rock and Morrowind as well. For 13 years, Antiochus ruled Tamriel and proved to be an able leader despite his moral laxity. Several historians point to proof that Fatima cast a spell that ended her brother's life, but evidence one way or another is lost to the sands of time. In any event, both she and her son Uriel were visiting the imperial court in the Third Era 112 when Antiochus died, and immediately challenged the rule of his daughter and heir, Kintyra. Fatima's speech to the elder council is perhaps helpful to students of public speaking. She began with flattery and self-abasement. My most august and wise friends, members of the Elder Council, I am but a provincial queen, and I can only assume to bring to issue what you yourselves must have already pondered. She continued on to praise the late Emperor, who was a popular ruler in spite of his flaws. He was a true septim and a great warrior, destroying with your counsel the near invincible armada of Piondonia. But little time was wasted before she came to her point. The Empress Magna unfortunately did nothing to temper my brother's lustful spirits. In point of fact, no whore in the slums of the city spread out on more beds than she. Had she attended to her duties in the imperial bedchamber more faithfully, we would have a true heir to the empire, not the half-wit, milksop bastards who call themselves the Emperor's children. The girl called Kintyra is popularly believed to be the daughter of Magna and the captain of the guard. It may be that she is the daughter of Magna and the boy who cleans the cistern. We can never know for certain, not as certainly as we can know the lineage of my son, Uriel, the last of the Septim dynasty. Despite Patema's eloquence, the Elder Council allowed Kintyra to assume the throne as Empress Kintyra II. Patema and Uriel angrily returned to Skyrim and began assembling the rebellion. Details of the War of the Red Diamond are included in other histories. We need not recount the Empress Kintyra's capture and eventual execution in High Rock in the year 3rd Era 114, nor the ascension of Patema's son Uriel III 7 years later. Her surviving brothers, Sepphoris and Magnus, fought the Emperor and his mother for years, tearing the Empire apart in a civil war. When Uriel III fought his uncle, Sepphoris, in Hammerfell at the Battle of Ichidag in the 3rd Era 127, Patema was fighting her other brother, Uriel's uncle Magnus, in Skyrim at the Battle of Falkenstar. She received word of her son's defeat and capture just as she was preparing to mount an attack on Magnus's weakest flank. The 61-year-old Wolf Queen flew into a rage and led the assault herself. It was a success, and Magnus and her army fled. In the midst of the victory celebration, Patema heard the news that her son, the Emperor, had been killed by an angry mob before he had even made it for the trial in Imperial City. He had been burned to death within his carriage. When Sepphoris was proclaimed Emperor, Patema's fury was terrible to behold. She summoned Daedra to fight for her, had her necromancers resurrect her fallen enemies as undead warriors, and mounted attack after attack on the forces of the Emperor Sepphoris I. Her allies began leaving her as her madness grew, and her only companions were the zombies and skeletons she had amassed over the years. The Kingdom of Solitude became a land of death, stories of the ancient Wolf Queen being waited on by rotting skeletal chambermaids and holding war plans with vampiric generals terrified her subjects. Patema died after a month-long siege on her castle in the year 3rd Era 137, at the age of 90. While she lived, she had been the Wolf Queen of Solitude, daughter of the Emperor Pelagius II, wife of King Mantiarco, aunt of the Empress Kintyra II, mother of Emperor Uriel III, and sister of the Emperors Antiochus and Sepphoris. 3 years after her death, Antiochus and Patema's brother Magnus took the throne.
Welcome to the Winking
Her death
Skeever,
has hardly
friend.
diminished her
Sure
notoriety.
thing. It's yours for a day.
Though there is little direct evidence of this, some theologians maintain that her spirit was so strong she became a Daedra after her death, inspiring mortals to mad ambition and treason. It is also said that her madness so infused Castle Solitude that it infected the next king to rule there. Ironically, that was her 18-year-old nephew Pelagius, the son of Magnus. Whatever the truth of the legend, it is undeniable that when Pelagius left Solitude in the 3rd Era 145 to assume the title of Emperor Pelagius III, he quickly became known as Pelagius the Mad. It is even widely rumoured that he murdered his father Magnus. The Wolf Queen must surely have had the last laugh. So there we go. That is a history about Queen Patema, the Wolf Queen of Solitude, and if the questline does continue when we hand in what we have found out to Falk Firebeard, at least we know who we're dealing with. A mad, necromantic queen. All good, I suppose. So anyway, join me next time in a couple of weeks when I return from my holiday, when we shall continue Elwyn's affairs. So join me then. See you soon.